Every IGN Resident Evil review ever. I've never seen the 1950s thing. Maybe I should. Instead of ouch, Richard will go, ouch! And then die. 56 images. Alright. Every IGN Resident Evil review ever. Okay. Reviewed by IGN staff, November 25th, 1996. Resident Evil got an 8.7. At the heart of Resident Evil lies its basic graphic adventure premise. Zombies have come alive, and you, as one of two story-specific characters, must investigate the freaky goings-on. The graphics are gorgeous, combining polygon-modeled characters with pre-rendered backgrounds. Camera angles are limited, but allow for a greater degree of detail on the characters. You really do identify with the protagonist, something lacking in many games. The graphics are gorgeous. 1996, baby. Gorgeous graphics. Oh, man. All right, Resident Evil GameCube 9.0. Damn. Reviewed by Matt Casamassaina. So, there are a couple of issues, sure. It's not a perfect game, but Resident Evil is easily the scariest, most atmospheric video game I've ever played. It's the only one I've ever been afraid to play alone. It's a triumph as a standalone adventure and a major accomplishment as a remake. Every gamer, whether you've played the original or have never heard of the franchise, should pick this up for their GameCube. It's one of the must-haves that you'll cherish not only as a truly fantastic spooky video game, but as a technical feat and prize that you can show your friends who still doubt the power and capabilities of Nintendo's next-generation console in the hands of the right developer. Big fucking true with all this. Great review, or great synopsis of the review. Resident Evil Archives. Yikes. Oh, this is Resident Evil Deadly Silence, I assume? 7.0. Reviewed by Craig Harris, February 6, 2006. So, for the most part, Resident Evil Deadly Silence is a great conversion of Resident Evil that tweaks a bit here and there, or tweaks a bit here and tightens a bit there. What was good about the PlayStation version is still good here on a smaller scale, and the added elements do a decent job enhancing the experience and shaking things up for those who experienced the game 100 times before. But honestly, it's hard to ignore all the little quirks in gameplay and presentation that were a bit easier to disregard in the earlier days of 3D adventuring. So if we look at this new title instead of a revival, well, it's not a whole lot better than a good but flawed game design. True. Not to mention, this game had some of the worse graphics, worse voice acting. They replaced some of the voice actors and they were worse. How is that even possible? Reviewed by Matt again. If you find yourself wondering why Archives has received a different score than its GCN predecessor, despite the fact that the two games are nearly identical, note that we held true 7 years ago does not necessarily still hold true today. Cool. All right, the remaster. Wait, did they? Oh my God, there's 56 of these. I love coming back to Resident Evil, and this version does a good job of updating the look and feel of an old game for a modern audience. Some of the older visual flaws detract from the experience and pulled me out of tense moments, but the gameplay hooked me right back in. Resident Evil relies on atmosphere, tough limitations, and danger creeping around all corners, and this port recaptures the formula of a classic relentless survival horror game. True. 8. Well, it's an 8 because it's a remaster. Like, you know, this is, I don't know if a lot of you are aware of this, or you are now if you're watching the stream, but, and I know most of you think to yourselves, no, Bach, you're crazy. I'm not crazy. A lot of people think Resident Evil, this one, 2015, is the remaster. They think that this game is the remaster of this game. A lot of people don't even know this exists. They think it went straight from this all the way to this. And I think it's being reviewed sort of as that because, like, look at the Crash remaster and Spyro remaster. Those are like completely different. This is just like, it's the GameCube version with slightly better graphics, where I still think Remaster is literally the best horror game ever made, up there with Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 and Resident Evil Remake are the two best horror games ever made, in my opinion. But, or Resident Evil, this one, is the best survival horror game ever made, and I think Silent Hill 2 is the best psychological horror game ever made. Regardless, whatever. Resident Evil 2, ooh, the 9.3. Oh, shit. Reviewed by Rick Sanchez, January 21st, 1998. A lot of really wonderful things can and will be said by reviewers about Resident Evil 2. It's a good sequel. It's a superb game in its own right, and it will consume your life for hours. But it's not a quantum leap forward in the evolution of the game or the genre. With fourth wave titles like Metal Gear Solid on the way, Resident Evil 2 just isn't quite the groundbreaker that the first one was. That said, it's going to be the game spinning in my PlayStation for the next few weeks. Dude, it's like Donkey's video on reviews. Like, you read this and I don't look at the review, like I don't look at this, I would think this is like an 8, but then you look over, 9.3. Like, the game it wasn't as groundbreaking as the game I gave a 9 to. It's better though. All right, Resident Evil 2 for PC. I can't wait to read this. 6.8. Tell Blevins. I was impressed by Resident Evil 2 on the PlayStation. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for the PC version. It's just too shallow for the average PC gamer. With such little change over the PlayStation version, it makes you wonder why it took Capcom 3 months to get this one on PC. Sure, Resident Evil 2 has a cool backstory, lots of exploding zombies, and truly will scare you in a few places, but it only satisfies hardcore gamers for a few hours at most. If you're not a truly good horror shooter, look in Half-Life's direction. In his defense, the PC port of Resident Evil 2 is absolute fucking trash, and the only reason that we speedrun it and it's playable now is because of a guy named Gemini and many other people, which I don't know all the names of everyone, that made the rebirth version of the PC version. And the only difference, as far as I remember, is you can skip doors, and they didn't even talk about that. N64 version. Hardcore Resident Evil fans have more than a few reasons to check out the N64 version of the game, and for those of you who have never played it on PlayStation or PC, it's a must-have. So, what are you waiting for? The zombies are getting restless. Agreed. This is the first Resident Evil I ever played, by the way. I watched my brother play RE1, but I actually played RE2 on the N64. That was my first RE game. Resident Evil 2 on the Dreamcast. If, however, you've never liked Resident Evil, this re-release is hardly going to change your mind. Of course, Code Veronica may well do so, but we reckon $50 is a little too pricey for an hour of sheer enjoyment. We do not reckon anything. Matt is obviously not a gamer. Oh, is that true, Matt? At the end of the day, what you're getting here is a lot of game, but if it's not your cup of tea, you'd best wait. Speaking on behalf of myself, though, it should be clear to you by now that I've loved every minute of it. After all, it includes a taster of what could have saved the Dreamcast in Japan, which makes this package something very special indeed. Which, by the way, the Dreamcast version had a Nightmare mode, I believe, so you can play Nightmare mode on this version. RE2 5.0 on the GameCube. Hey, it's the first speedrun I ever did that got popular. And I know why it's a 5.0, and you might agree. Resident Evil 2 remains one of my preferred games on last generation's PlayStation, and had the title been remade as Capcom's revamped RE1. Capcom remade RE1 for GameCube because they were going to port it, but they feel like it aged too badly, so they just remade it. But with RE2 and RE3, they were like, fuck that, we're just going to port it and do nothing else. So it's like slightly better graphics and the exact same game after that. That's why it has a 5. They're not saying RE2 is a 5.0. They're saying RE2 for the GameCube is a 5.0 port. But let's see what they actually say. If it was remade as Capcom's revamped RE1, it might have been a remarkable GameCube title. As it stands, though, RE2 hits Nintendo's next generation console totally unchanged, and 5 years old just feels completely outdated. The end port is not a bad one. Purists hoping to get all the survival horror titles on console will probably be satisfied, and if you've never played RE2 before, it's still an enjoyable adventure. But as a port, yeah. I mean, guess what you can do in RE2 for the GameCube? Skip cutscenes. That's literally it. Thank you, Linkadad, for the 8 months. Thank you. And not only that, but it doesn't have Nightmare mode, which Dreamcast has. It doesn't have the randomizer, which the N64 had, and it doesn't have blood color choice, which the N64 had, and it doesn't have door skip, which the PC version had. They took all those extra bonuses away that they could have added and made the GameCube version the ultimate version of Resident Evil 2 to ever play, but instead they added cutscene skip and didn't add all the other stuff. Resident Evil 2 Remake. Probably Cheek Vovo. I haven't uploaded any RE2 videos besides my Tormented Souls playthrough in like a week because I suck. No, in the past 3 days I haven't uploaded anything because the Tormented Souls kept bugging out and it wouldn't upload. 9.0, I agree. Reviewed by Damon Hetfield, James Hetfield's brother. Capcom did a fantastic job of resurrecting all the best parts of classic Resident Evil 2 and making them look, sound, and play like a 2019 game. If you're of the mind that the series had lost its way for a while there, this game is very much a return to form. The zombie combat is satisfying, and exploring the dilapidated ruins of Raccoon City is a thrill. The one big letdown is that Capcom unintuitively hides the alternate perspective content behind an extra playthrough. But whichever you choose to play, as the experience of playing through the new Resident Evil 2 for the first time establishes a new standard for remaking classic games. Agreed. But yeah, the biggest fault of RE2 Remake is definitely the B scenarios. And the other stuff I mentioned, no randomizer, no nightmare mode. It didn't take any of those classic additions. Whoa, what? Is this the highest rated one so far? Yo, I'm starting to like IGN. This is my favorite Resident Evil game. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis by Doug Perry. Oh, according to IGN, RE3 Nemesis is the best RE so far. And yet, in no way does RE3 falter or slip below the quality level of the previous two games. If anything, it upholds the series' depth and challenge. Even though it's still essentially more Resident Evil, the story still wonderfully unfolds in an intensely slow, intriguing way, and the combination of great storytelling and precise style of gameplay is still perfectly blended. If anything, it's a compliment and a message to Capcom that so many similar games, Evil Dead, Galarian, Sphere Effect, haha, are currently in the works. The message: gamers love Resident Evil and gamers will love RE3 too. True! Dreamcast port. I don't even know what this added. I don't think it added anything. Costumes, maybe? Despite having played through the PlayStation version, I still thoroughly enjoyed Resident Evil 3 Nemesis on the Dreamcast. This slightly newer look, added options, and all the classic RE gameplay are enough for me to recommend this game to expert RE players. And those that have never played the PS version should really give this game a shot. Now, the only problem is, what will you have Jill Valentine wear? Oh, okay. So that costume's confirmed, haha. PC port. Ultimately, Resident Evil 3 is a console game. It should be kept as such. If there isn't another platform in your house, it's definitely a fun game worth a few hours of your time, but Capcom would do well to bring a PC only. Yep. I like how they bring that up. Like, this is such a piece of the time. Like, they talk about PCs for first-person games. So true back then. Like, Duke Nukem, Doom, the Shadow Warrior, Blood. Those were like the dominant, or I named a few indies there, but Doom is like dominant on the console, and like Unreal tournaments, yada yada yada. Is that Mr. Wolf DNC? Oh yeah, oh yeah. Thank you XCTV for the 49 months. Thank you, and thank you X Tino for the 3 months. Deus Ex, Quake, Unreal, yeah. GCN, just like RE2. Yep, same as I said about RE2. Code Veronica 9.2, reviewed by Brendan Justice. Not enough harping. The fact is, the more I got pulled into the game's amazing theatrics, the less I cared. The things that have always sucked about Resident Evil still bite the big one in Code Veronica. In addition to the wonky control, the item box is still evil, and yes, you can still only hold the load of a 5-year-old with one hand tied behind their back. But by the same token, everything from the cameras to the incredible level of facial detail in some of the cinemas sets a new standard for the genre. And this is easily the most impressive entry into the Resident Evil series to date. The game is a true testament to the hardware and a survival horror freak's wish come true. If you think you can handle this 2-disc terror, turn down the lights, crank up the volume, and prepare for an overdose of fright. This one's a keeper. This is what I originally played. Like I played Code Veronica on Dreamcast back in the day. Code Veronica X. You see, despite the fact that I'm bored to tears with the series doesn't mean that it's not a great adventure. It's just that having played so many Resident Evil games, I want more from it. I want better controls, less ludicrous key searching missions, and more forgiving camera angles for starters. As adventure games go on the PlayStation 2, it's worth a look, but don't expect anything new or innovative. GameCube, $39.99. If the price drops, snatch it up. Yep. XHD, which you can already tell that ain't very HD. Code Veronica stood as a high mark for its franchise at the time, revisiting the game with its dated graphics and later significant improvements made it by its successors. Code Veronicas truly appreciate what RE4 and RE5 managed to do. Unfortunately, not all titles age equally. I mean, CVX hasn't aged well. That's why people want it to be remade. It didn't have pre-rendered backgrounds, so the backgrounds look bad. Hey! 4? No one in their right mind should buy this game without knowing a few things. This is a campy C-movie-like formula ripoff of Resident Evil by the makers of Resident Evil. It's a strange hybrid of Resident Evil survival horror trimmings without the best parts, and it's not for the smart. It doesn't require but the minimum of weapon management and puzzle skills. Okay, they're not really at all. And all you need to really know is to shoot a lot. Don't buy this, but if you must play everything Resident Evil, then buy it used or rent it. It'll provide you with about 4 hours maximum of campy, brainless shooting kicks. Just don't blame me for feeling dirty afterwards, because you will. Oh yes, you will. Hey! It's my favorite RE. Oh, now we're talking. Resident Evil Gaiden marks Capcom's completion with the Game Boy Color gaming. It's GBA or bust. Now, luckily the company also shipped Shantae on the same day as this game, because it would suck to finish off 8-bit development with a game as dull as RE Gaiden. Don't get me wrong, I totally respect the M4 team for trying its hand at their license, but the game design just doesn't work. It's not fun. The side story is pretty cool though. And it'd be a good thing if the game's plot was revisited on a more capable system. Just lose the overhead perspective and the golf swing battles. Yeesh. Sheesh. Resident Evil 0 8.2, that's surprising. For me, RE0 is a really solid survival horror update, complete with beautiful graphics and a moody atmosphere. But it's also a game scarred by several gaping flaws, and I couldn't let that go again. Not when Capcom could have easily corrected these issues by now. The game is still scary, and if that's good enough for you, then don't bother reading the rest of my comments. Go now and pick it up. You won't be disappointed. But on the other hand, the control, especially with the Type C option is removed, is clunky, robotic, and clashes with the pace of the game, which often requires quick and precise movements. Frankly, the play mechanics are outdated, and that really puts a hamper on the experience. True. And yeah, with the Type C option removed, I think by that, I was talking about this when I played RE0 2 days ago, or yesterday. RE0 doesn't have the classic controls. They give you like 6 control schemes and none of them are the other RE games. What were they thinking? Archive 0. Horrible item management. Yeah, it sounds like RE0. Yeah, 6. Overwhelming inventory management and yeah, sounds just about right. Dead aim, oh yeah, 6 to the 9. In the end, Resident Evil Dead Aim did something we didn't expect. It made us want to play it until we beat it. A feat that a previous Gun Survivor versions made us cringe over. You talking about Survivor? And through our experiences with the game wasn't as consistent as some of the other titles in the genre, it efforts at being different. Its high production values and legitimately entertaining mini moments deserve a little recognition in what has otherwise been a history of negativity. Perfect. That's a perfect score for Dead Aim. Outbreak. I'm interested to read this. What we think it all comes down to is the fact that a network version of Resident Evil is so rife with possibilities, persistent online world, anyone? That it makes legitimate yet basic attempts like this sting us extra hard when it doesn't quite measure up. Sure, Outbreak is a nice way to pass the time for Biohazard fans anticipating the release of Resident Evil 4 later this year, but for those of us who revere the series, this author being one of them, it isn't quite what it should have been. Here's to hoping that Capcom will make use of that hard drive rather soon. You know that comment at the end, make use of that hard drive? It's because the fucking... By the way, Outbreak on release was not good, and this is what I fight for. One sec. Outbreak's problems were no voice chat because it's on PS2, horrible online because it's on PS2, not many people could play it at the time because it came out in fucking 2004 and not many people, I know if you did when you were a kid, God fucking bless, but most of us did not have high-speed internet, and if we did, it sucked ass because 2004. And horrible load times. I don't know if I already mentioned that earlier. Horrible, horrible, horrible load times. If this came out on the PS3, it would have been like a 9. But IGN would have been like, the gameplay is aged. It's way too far ahead of its time, unfortunately, Outbreak. But yeah, on release, this game had a lot of bad things about it, but If this game was remastered, this is like the perfect game for a remaster. Put this on PC today. Instant load times, voice communication in the game, keep all the unlocks, keep everything else, maybe work on some DLC if you want to. This game would do phenomenal on Steam. Phenomenal. No doubt about that at all. File 2. Ultimately, though, it's hard to forgive Outbreak 2's repetitive nature, sluggish pacing, and lack of an effective online communicator. Yep, it was somewhat forgivable the first time around, but not 13 months and thousands of fan requests later. Sure, it could be worth a try if you're a diehard RE fanatic, but horror fans in search of something a little more progressive may want to hold out for the PS2 port of Resident Evil 4 later this year. Oh, shit, dude. 9.8. With Resident Evil 4, Capcom has successfully, triumphantly taken the franchise to the next level. It's really emphasized the survival in survival horror too. You're oftentimes on the run for your life, and villagers are much smarter than any zombie. Team up, dodge bullets, and do other nasty things that I will let you discover on your own. There are the boss fights, which are unexpectedly brilliant. This game is extremely scary, and that fear is intensified by the best graphics and some of the most eerie audio in Nintendo's console. Yeah, I agree. PS2 version. You have to play this game. If you haven't, stop hesitating and do it. And don't go getting distracted because the world just keeps changing and wowing you. The idea of the village is but a fraction of what RE4 has to offer. If you have played it on GCN, well, whether you buy it or rent it, you'll want to play separate ways. It provides a great amount of closure on the conspiracies that you only get a glimpse of during Leon's quest. PC version. Uh-oh. I like how all the PC versions are badly rated. This isn't a bad rating, but when it goes from a 9 to a 7, it is. While there is a substantial amount of if you don't have a PS2 or GameCube lying around, you really should play this game. Resident Evil 4 on the Wii. The GCN original scored a 9.8 and the PS2's iteration scored a 9.5 in 2005. The Wii title is the best of the three, but it also arrives 2 years later, which is primarily why we've dropped the score. The fact is, while an amazing experience, RE4 does not push the Wii in the same way it did PS2 or GCN. The Wii had great controls, as far as I remember. On the PS3, the non-HD upscaling of Resident Evil 4 HD easily represents the worst part of this otherwise excellent port. Resident Evil The Missions? Resident Evil The Missions benefits from incredibly smart design choices. Recreating an RE game in a top-down perspective would be a little dull. Using the familiar fixed camera angles and pre-render backgrounds. What even is this? The game, it does move a little slow. What is this game? Oh, it's a mobile game? I gotta play this. Resident Evil The Missions. The Umbrella Chronicles, 7.9. Seriously? At the same time, there is no denying the fun we had. Oh, they must have played 2-player, which I didn't. And any Resident Evil fan out there will undoubtedly feel the same after a few hours of Umbrella Chronicles. It lacks polish, true, and it may have some annoying gameplay quirks that keep it from being a great game by definition, but as a tribute to the Resident Evil franchise and a fun in-between game that works well in short bursts, UC delivers. There's a huge variety of RE-inspired levels to blow through, over 20 hours of play, gigantic light gun game, nearly a dozen weapons to find and upgrade, and a pretty ambitious amount of scripted cutscenes classically bad Resident Evil voiceover work. It's far from perfect, but it's an entertaining addition. Yeah, agreed. 7.8 Resident Evil Genesis. What the hell is this? Resident Evil Genesis is a solid step in the right direction for Capcom's mobile efforts. Oh, okay. All right, no spoilers. I gotta play that one. Resident Evil 5. With Resident Evil 5, Capcom has broken away from many of the survival horror conventions it pioneered. The creepy suspense of the earlier games has been replaced with an action-packed intensity that will instantly appeal to some gamers and disappoint others. True, as an action game, RE5 is a success, and there is a wealth of replayability through item collection, weapon upgrades, score tracing, and the unlockable Mercenaries mode. Very true. And this is no gentle nudge to the formula of the previous main RE games. It's an evolution. And if you can accept that, you just might love Resident Evil 5. That's very true. That's very true. Whoa, I'm surprised a lot of you are upset at the 9. I actually think RE5 is one of the best co-op games ever made. But as they say, and as I already know this, if you're in the franchise for horror, this game sucks ass. If you're in the franchise because you love video games, a great game. If you played single player, bad game. If you played co-op with a best friend and you love Resident Evil and you love action games as well, you probably fucking adored this game like I did. PC version. It got higher. Oh my god. It may not be a radically new Resident Evil 5, but the PC version of the game still manages to hold its own with an improved control scheme and extra mercenaries mode. While the additional cost seems somewhat minor, and you may require a few upgrades to your computer to take full advantage of what the game has to offer, you're exploring a great story and excellent gameplay. Plus, the inclusion of 3D is a harbinger of what game will probably become. And the effect of extremely nice if you have the opportunity to take advantage of it. Umbrella Viruses hasn't completely evolved, but it's definitely worth isolating yourself with a copy of RE5 for a while. Desperate Escape. Darkside Chronicles. The rail shooter genre will never be the true Resident Evil experience, but the Resident Evil Darkside Chronicles shows that the franchise can be spun out into different successful styles of gameplay, even with the complaints about the bouncy camera. I believe this follow-up is significantly better experience than the original Umbrella Chronicles, a fun ride from start to finish. Fun. It's funny he calls it a fun ride because your fucking camera is like you're on a goddamn roller coaster. I do not think this is an 8.1. Dude, the camera kills this game. This is playing fucking Darkside Chronicles. Oh, it's a terrible experience at times. The Mercenaries Versus. Oh, we played this. The Mercenaries Versus is sometimes fun. Oh wait, or is this a mobile version? A game I'd bother to play without my friends. You can't communicate with your team online, and at least some friends can couch. Cool. Mobile, baby. I need to play these mobile games desperately. Mercenaries 3D. Okay, this is the one we played. Despite its considerable flaws, at its core, Mercenaries is a ton of fun. From the moment I started playing it, I couldn't put it down. The core combat mechanics and thrilling atmosphere make for a very addicting experience. But the fact that this game costs $40 is a frustrating proposition. Between persistent frame rate issues and very little depth, this game really should have been included in the upcoming Resident Evil Revelations as a bonus game. That's what Mercenaries was designed to be. And no amount of X's will change that. While you'll definitely have fun capping monsters and besting your high scores, Capcom certainly didn't figure out how to make this a valid full release. Yeah, that's true. It's a fun game, but definitely not worth a lot of money. Revelations. Oh my god, my throat hurts. I've been talking so much. Resident Evil Revelations is a great handheld game. Oh yeah, this is for the DS. One that not only pushes the boundaries and standards of the Nintendo 3DS, but one that recaptures the long-forgotten spirit of a classic franchise. Make no mistake about it. Yeah, this is basically their return to horror when it happened. Make no mistake about it, this is the full Resident Evil adventure that isn't watered down because it's in some portable form. That's no small accomplishment. Despite its disappointments, Revelations will be remembered as one of the best entries in this series, and should serve as a notice to all other developers, including Nintendo itself. This is the type of production value we want to see on the 3DS. Yeah, this game is for the fucking 3DS when it came out. Did you guys even know that? Isn't that crazy? Resident Evil Revelations HD 7.5. With its welcome return to classic style horror action, Resident Evil Revelations is very much worth playing in its HD form for its atmospheric scares alone. However, if you got the choice between Remake and the original, stick with the one you can carry in your pocket. Operation Raccoon City. Uh-oh. Guys, remember, I always talk about this. I got Operation Raccoon City for my birthday, okay? And 2012, that's back when IGN and GameSpot were a little more credible. A little. And I got the game for my birthday. I looked at the back. I was pumped. And then I looked at the reviews online and literally seen this. And I was like, okay, I gotta return this for something else. Given the huge amount of potential the developers of Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City had to work with, it's disappointing how little of it was actually realized. On several occasions, I was legitimately surprised by the mention of the name William Birkin or the familiar sound of picking up an herb. Having long forgotten that this was supposed to be a Resident Evil game, the terrible AI, the lackluster locations, and the complete lack of atmosphere or memorable characters destroy what could have been a brilliant offshoot. In the end, Operation Raccoon City is a little more than a poor man's SOCOM and a destitute man's Resident Evil. I mean, for Resident Evil fans, I think this is a fine online game. I assume this low score is from the bugs and also the terrible AI. The AI is awful. Resident Evil 6. Hey, this should have been a 9.5. Am I right, Chad? Evolution and ambition are only natural for a franchise as old as Resident Evil, as is the need to respect a long-lasting legacy and the fans that have come to appreciate it. But in trying to serve all masters, Resident Evil 6 loses focus and fails to accurately assess which of its elements are truly worthy of being included. That is basically what I say every time I talk about RE6. That it's not an awful game, but it tries to be the jack of all trades and it's the master of none of them. Because Leon's campaign starts as stealth, Chris's campaign starts as a giant fucking shooter, Jake and Sherry's, Leon starts as horror, action for Chris, stealth for Jake and Sherry. And action for all of them. When this game is at its height, it sets new standards for the series in every way. Unfortunately, there are no shortage of lows either. Taking what could have been an excellent experience and making it something considerably lesser. Yeah, that's a really good paragraph of why RE6 sort of sucks. Revelations 2 Episode 1. Episode 1 is a letdown by dull environments and creature design, but terrific co-op mode. What? Terrific co-op mode? Episode 2 bolts through its 4-hour campaign at a breathless pace. Hard as nails boss battles, true. Tense stealth sections, true. Episode 3, yeah, that's probably the weakest episode. Judgment gallops along the great pace and ends once again at a cliffhanger. Metamorphosis does a satisfactory job to try and resolve. While the bonus extras and robust raid mode extend the life of Revelations 2 beyond the credits. Ooh, I thought... Oh, wait. Oh, this is just for the full experience. I actually think Rev 2 is better than Rev 1. Oh, man. Does it smell like someone just took a shit in your room that you're watching the stream on? Umbrella Corps is a bad competitive shooter that doesn't even know how to take advantage of its few strengths. Its mechanics frequently contradict each other. Balance is absurd, controls are clumsy, and it fails to pull anything meaningful from the Resident Evil universe other than some recognizable settings. With no great story hooks for horror fans, and mechanics that can't compare to most modern shooters, Umbrella Corps feels like a game made for no one. Now that's damn true. This game makes me so angry. I'm just gonna move on. 7.7? Really? I did not know they gave it that low of a score. Resident Evil 7 grounds itself, like, even though I'm sort of in the boat of this, I'm surprised to see it so low from IGN. Resident Evil 7 grounds itself in elements that made the original great while still indulging in risky new shift in style that both helps and hurts a beloved formula in equal measure. But it's also the closest a numbered sequel has come to recapturing Resident Evil's slow but thrilling and atmospheric adventure roots for a while. A welcome return that I truly hope to see more of in the future. 7.7 is not a bad score. 7.7 is a bad score for a AAA game, but it's not a bad score in general. I don't think... I sort of want to read the whole review. I don't think RE7 is god tier just because of the boat section onward, because I think half the game sort of sucks and half the game is god tier. First half of the game, god tier. Second half of the game, yikes. But I think 7.7 is a little low for 7, in my opinion. But not too low, honestly. Did we already read this one? We did. Single player review. Oh, they didn't include what? Like Resident Evil 2 before it, Resident Evil 3's 2020 remake does an amazing job of recapturing the horror and tension of the late 90s original while completely modernizing its gameplay. True. It plays like a 2020 game because it's a 2020 game. Nice, dude. The classic world is brought to life in glorious detail, and smart level design makes exploring it a delight. Smart level design? If only all remakes could be this good? Am I reading the RE2 Remake review by accident? Overall, Resident Evil 3 is a wonderful wait. Oh no, that was, when IGN first reviewed RE2, by the way, they gave it, what did they give it? They give it a 9 or something, but then they didn't realize there was B scenarios and they redid their review. I forgot about that. Maybe that's why this is here twice. Although it's just okay, multiplayer mode falls short of the bar set by its magnificent single-player campaign. And there we have it. Every IGN Resident Evil review ever. I agreed with a lot of those, but there is some I definitely didn't agree with. 3 Remake. I think, you remember where I was talking about 7? I think 7's better than 3 Remake for sure. But 3 Remake's problems aren't in the game. I mean, Dog Nemi, I think, is a problem. It came too early. But I think Resident Evil 3 is a fantastic game. It's just not worth full price. And it, like, saying that they took as much care with 3 as they did with 2 is an actual objective lie. Not true at all. And you can tell that just by you don't even have to play the game. Just look at the menus for the game and click through them and you already know that. But yeah, that was cool. Thank you, Blood Rush, for the 56 months, by the way. Oh yeah. This was cool though. This was fun to go through. My voice hurts. I'm gonna have to play a chill game after this. But this was cool. What did you guys think?